Head over to miniaturemarket.com where there's thousands of board games at discounted prices like Scout. Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Recently I've done a couple of videos about the Spiel Des Jahres, which is Game of the Year in Germany. Big, huge announcements over the last couple of months. I've done 2 videos on that. A first announcement about my predictions and my commentary. I go real deep into the Spiel Des Jahres and history. Just recently I had a chance to play the one game that's nominated for the Spiel Des Jahres that I had not played yet, Top 10, so I put out a video about that. But now I'm going to look at Scout in a little more detail versus another game that it was inspired by, called Delt in North America. Delt was rebranded in 2020. It used to be out in Europe as Krass Kariert. So they use similar mechanisms, but they're very different games. So let me show you the differences. I'm going to show you how you play both of these at a high level, and then we'll come back and we'll do sort of a versus. So here's the 2 boxes. The Delt is in that standard small card game box from Amigo, and the Scout is in the standard sort of Oink Games even tinier box. So let's take a look at how both these play at a very high level. Now in Scout, you're gonna get a certain amount of cards depending on the amount of players, like 12 cards for 3 players, but when you pick them up, you cannot reorient them. So let's say this is how I was holding them in my hands. The big numbers are the numbers that are here, but only once during the round, right at the beginning, you can flip them. And as you'll see, this could have been a good move because I have 3 2s in a row, because as I'll show you, when you're playing cards from your hand, they have to be next to each other. Now these cards are secret in my hand, but I'm gonna leave them out here just so you can see them. So on your turn, you could take any amount of cards, assuming that they're a set or a run, and place it in the middle. I'm just gonna take this one right here, this one, and I'm gonna place it out to the middle to sort of start the trick. Now everybody else going in clockwise order is going to, most of the time, try to beat it. So let's say the next player goes, hey, I got a single card that's a bit better than a 1, I'll do this. And then the next player says, hey, I'll place 7, that's better than that. Let's say it comes back to me. Now if you play multiple cards, they need to be sort of a pair or in a consecutive run, but they have to be next to each other. So I got rid of that 1, which was great because it was easy to get out, plus now I have 2 6s. Now, 2 6s the 6 is less than a 7, but I'm playing more cards than what was there. It was just a single 7, so 2 cards of anything will beat it. So now I got 2 6s. So let's say the next player plays 3 cards, but it's in a row like that, like a set, so that's better. Now let's just say it was our turn. 3 cards can beat 3 cards, but the same type beats a set. So 3 cards, even though it's lower, 3 2s, beats 3, 4, and 5 because combo, the same number always beats the other one. So let's say somebody else played this. Let's say it's our turn again, and I don't want to play, or I can't. What I can do is Scout, and scouting is you can take one of the cards on one of the 2 sides. I'm going to take this one, and not only can you take the one on the side, you can place it anywhere in your hand, and you can orient it anyway. So I'm going to go like this, but the player that played the thing, the set there, will get a Scout chip, which essentially is a point. So you're causing other players to get some of your cards, but you're making points on all of those. But it's also now made this easier, because now it's only 2 5s, not 5. So it goes to the next player, and now it's a little bit easier, so they might be able to throw down, 2 6s or something like that, or 5 6, things like that. 5 6 7, things like that. So it's interesting because as you scout, it makes it weaker, which makes it easier for people to keep going around. But I've set myself up so that next time it's my turn, I can do a set like that. And again, they can be ascending or descending. I've got 7 6 5, so that's a 3-run set. So you'll keep doing this until somebody plays a set that nobody can beat, or somebody runs out of cards. Now there is a way, everyone has one of these per round, is a Scout and Show where you can take and scout, but then you can also play cards right there. Everyone can do that once per round. But after the round's over, now I'm stacking all these in a pile, but when you do beat the thing that's there, you get to collect those cards for points. So for example, let's say that was there, and I played these, I would take these and collect these cards as points. They're each 1 point at the end of the round. At the end of the round, all the points of the cards that you took like that are going to be points. Each one of these is worth a point, plus the chips that you got from people scouting off your cards are points. But any cards left in your hand are minus, so it's this plus this minus that, and that's how many points you get, and you play them number of rounds equal to number of players. Whoever has the most at the end is the winner. Now in Delt, there's not just one winner, there's one loser and everybody else wins. Now you're gonna be playing lots of little hands. You'll get a certain amount of cards depending on the players. Just like Scout, once you get these cards, you put them in your hand, you can't reorganize them. So my hand might look something like this. These chips are used to track when you lose a round, and if you run out of chips and you lose, you're out. Now these cards are secret in your hand, but each player also gets 2 reserve cards that are face up that everyone can see. Now you're each going to be like throwing 1, 2, or 3 cards into a trick, and again, just like Scout, they have to be right next to each other. So maybe I lead with this little 8 right here because I know I'm trying to put this pair together. So let's say I play an 8, goes the next player. It's a single card, they can play another solo card if they want to. A 10 beats an 8, that's fine. Maybe the next player plays a 3, 4 in consecutive set like that. And let's say the next player plays a pair of 2s because a pair always beats a 2 straight. And you'll see there's a hierarchy. It's solo, 2 straight, pair, 3 straight, and 3 of a kind. It's pretty simple. The hierarchy is actually more simple in this than it is in Scout. Now, if you can't or you don't want to play from your secret cards, you then instead will pick up one of your 2 reserve cards and put them in your hand, but now everybody kind of knows what you've got there. And you get to put it anywhere in your hand, setting yourself up for some type of set, hopefully. However, in this case, everyone played the cards, the 2 was the winner, so this player would collect this trick and they would start a new one. Now what you're trying to do is whittle your hand down so that you can go out before anybody else, or at least not be the last person standing. So I'll drop these 3 in and I'm out. I still have my 2 reserve cards, that's cool. But let's say instead I'd already taken my 2 reserves out because I couldn't beat the tricks that were out there, and this is all I have in my hand and I can't do anything about it. I can't play these. And in that case, the round would end and I would lose one of my chips. So you don't want to get stuck not being able to play anything. So the round will end if somebody goes out and can't play, or if everybody has gone out except one person, that person would lose a chip. Now, by the rules is you basically would shuffle up and deal a whole nother hand out, and you do the same things. If you lose your second chip, you're still alive, but if you lose a chip and you don't have one, the game's over. I actually think the game's a little too long like that. I think it feels good if you have 2 chips, and as soon as you lose your second one, the game's over. You've lost, everyone else wins. Now there are 3 special cards in the deck. There's an X, which is a wild, so I might throw 8x10, having the X as a 9. I might not be able to play on this, and I might want to stop it, or maybe I don't have any reserve cards left, I don't want to go out. I can play a stop card, and essentially it's the highest ranked card. You can play it whenever, and immediately ends it. You take the trick, and then you would start a new one. There's one more special card. Let's say someone played this, the next player played this. I can play this. Whoever ends up winning that trick will end up drawing 3 cards from the deck into their hand, and that's tough because you're trying to run out of cards. So as you can see, there's definitely a lot of similarities between these. This came out way before this, so I think this was, inspired this, but it's different. You're trying to win. There's sort of like big, single, longer tricks going on, where this is like shorter little bite-sized tricks, and you're trying to just not be the last one out. So very different feelings, but using similar mechanisms. All right, well, there you have it. As you can see, again, they are very similar in some ways, but also very different in other ways. And since Scout's, nominated for Spiel Des Jahres, I feel like it would be a good thing to put these 2 together. Now, let's first talk about production. For this, I'm going to give the nod to Delt because this is an absolute card game. You're playing cards, you're holding cards, you're shuffling cards. That's all you're doing with them. And as I mentioned in my Spiel Des Jahres deep dive, the production on the Scout from Oink Games is not good. The cards are super thin. They bend even after the first couple of plays because they're so darn thin. And for a game that, that's the whole thing is playing and shuffling these cards, not good. And the thing that makes it even worse is like when they try to get everything to fit in these nice cute little boxes, I like that, but they stuffed more than half of the boxes with tokens that have no use in the game. Just write it down on a piece of paper or keep track on your phone. Give me thicker cards that actually hold up to playing. Big fail here on Oink Games on the production side of things for Scout. And Delt, it's fine. It's what you expect from Amigo. Good quality cards. They're stamped and things like that. It's fine. There's nothing great about Delt, but I'm giving it the nod because the production was so bad on the Scout from Oink Games. Player counts. I'm going to say this is a tie. Oink Games does go theoretically from 2 to 5, and the other Delt goes 3 to 5, but the 2-player variant of Oink Games Scout is rubbish. It's no good. It's not interesting at all. Don't waste your time with it. It's really 3 to 5, so player counts is a tie. How about the play time? This one I'm going to give to Scout, because with Scout, you have a known number of rounds. You play a certain number of rounds depending on the amount of players. You know relatively how long the game's going to be. But with Delt, it's like variable. It's like, oh, you go out and you didn't get one, you lose a chip. Now you lost one, now I lost one, now you lost one. And the game could be very fast if the first player loses both of their chips real quick, or it could take a long time because everyone's losing them evenly. So that game could be over in 15 minutes, or it could take 45 minutes. You don't really know. And I don't like having that much variability, so Scout wins on time and length of game.
How about player scaling? And this side, I'm gonna say doubt, because with Delt, it feels much more similar in 3 to 5 players. With Scout, of course, the time length is different between the players and Delt. But in bigger is like with 3, it's a little too easy to end the rounds, where you can play something that other people can't react to. So the rounds will end quicker and a little bit more unpredictable, where with 4 and 5 players, especially with 5, it's almost never gonna happen until you get towards the end. So it gives it a different feeling, and I don't feel like it scales as well as Delt does, because of that feeling of like, oh man, you almost have to play it very differently between the different player counts. I don't like that as much. Gameplay. I prefer Delt better. I like having those little individual tricks, a bunch of little tricks, like a standard trick-taking game, and having those go and then try to have someone go out and then the round's over. Where with Scout, it's interesting that you're like, oh, I can show and beat that thing and take those cards for points, or I can scout and take one of the ones on the end and orient it any way I want, stick it anywhere in my hand. But in Delt, you have those reserve cards that you can take when you can't go and put in your hand. There's a little bit of pressure luck. Do I want to take it because I'm setting myself up because I need this card for something else, or am I taking it because I don't really want to get rid of anything in my hand right now, I'll wait for that. So they're both interesting in that manner, and they both can add cards to your hand, they just do it differently. And I thought that Scout was interesting, but I felt like 2 things. One is having that like one large trick in a round wasn't nearly as exciting. It was more boring than having these little short little bite-sized tricks that you're used to playing. Okay, I'm gonna miss this one. Okay, well, let's set something up for the next one. Where in Scout, it's like, it's this long drawn out round that isn't exciting to me. It wasn't as exciting. The style and who wins, on this, I'm gonna give to Delt. Delt is definitely more direct interaction. If you're looking for something to mess other people over, try not to be the one to lose, hoping that someone else lose, have lots of friendly banter, you're gonna be laughing while you mess people over, that's Delt. That's the style of game I like better. Where Scout takes itself much more seriously, where it's more of a serious card game where you're playing it and you're gonna have one winner, which is more traditional, which typically I like that better. But Delt is much more memorable. It's much more fun in my opinion. Is one game better mechanically than another? No, they're both about the same. They're both interesting. They both use similar things. Scout was definitely inspired by Krass Kariert or Delt. And they both have interesting, fun things. If you like things that you're quiet and playing card games, you might like Scout better. If you like to have a little more interaction and banter with your friends, Delt you're gonna like better, or Krass Kariert. But some people might not be okay with having basically one loser and everyone else wins. If you don't like that, then Scout might be the choice for you. But I think the experience is much more memorable, much more fun with Delt than it is with Scout. Scout I found interesting, but I found it quite boring. After a handful of plays, I was done with it. Delt, it feels fresh every time because again, the interaction and the fun is what makes that game different. So my winner is Delt. Spiel Des Jahres nominee is Scout, but don't overlook Delt. I think it's even better. This has been the Game Boy Geek, breaking down barriers, growing relationships through board games, and helping you on the next one you'll love.
Game Toppers not only transforms your existing table to a high-quality gaming solution, they now offer full leg kits and dining cover solutions for the full table application. Paired with their amazing, thematic, premium stitch edge mats from noted board game artists like Vincent Dutray, collapsible cup holders, and really cool accessories, it's a complete system that upgrades every game you play. Go to GameToppersLLC.com or click the link below to late pledge for their latest Game Topper 3.5 Kickstarter campaign.